Welcome to a birthday podcast. I'm your host, Leo Bios. Obviously, I'm very happy. I'm excited. I'm 26 years old today. I'm very blessed to do what I love, and God has allowed me to continue in this path. And you guys have supported the entire way since 2015 when I took over Cowbell Kingdom. But this show is all about talking Kings basketball, kind of recapping what we saw this year, the expectations we had coming into the year, how it all changed mid-year, and how we kind of fell backwards a little bit in terms of production and what we thought was going to happen mid-year. We'll talk about that. Just overall, the performance of a lot of the surprises of this season and why the Kings are 39-42 right now. I'll be honest, I had them winning 25 games, and they exceeded all expectations for pretty much all season long, and they could have made the playoffs, but they didn't. And now they just have to build upon this awesome season, and they'll go from here. They have a very bright future. But before we get into all the juicy details, this episode is presented by the Detailing Pros Sacramento. They are your premier auto dealer of Northern California. These guys are the best. They are very proud and certified master detailers and offer professional know-how to do all for their clients and their vehicles. They specialize in interior and exterior detailing, paint correction, paint protection, and overall beautification of everyday drivers, exotics, and classic vehicles. For more information, visit the detailingprosac.com. You can also follow them on Instagram. My man, Nick Milan, who I just had on the podcast, on the most recent podcast. Shout out to him. Awesome owner, entrepreneur. Make sure to follow them and their journey in continuing to provide awesome services here in Northern California. The Kings are and finished a top 10 team in points per game, which is awesome. They took that huge leap. If you're a top 10 team in scoring, you're going to only get better from here on, especially if your entire core is under 27 years old. So Buddy Hield took the biggest step in terms of scoring, averaging 20 points a game this season. Then you insert Harrison Barnes at the trade deadline, but then you have a very quiet 17 points from De'Aaron Fox, who honestly could have averaged 24 points a game if he got some calls all season long. Those same calls that James Harden gets on a daily on a nightly basis, De'Aaron Fox will get with time. This man is legit. I believe in him. I believe in his abilities. I believe in the fact that he is the franchise player, the face of this organization. We knew that when the Kings drafted him, number 5 overall in the 2017 class. I continue to believe that. And even though some people may say, well, he's too passive at times and he's not as aggressive as he should be, and I believe they're all fair critiques for De'Aaron Fox, but sometimes we have to step back and just say, wow, this kid is 21 years old. He's only going to get better. His jump shot got better. Yeah, he didn't take as many jump shots after he messed up his shoulder when he ran into Steven Adams, a.k.a. Aquaman. If you see just a God-given talent and you couple that with work ethic, professionalism, the Kings are in very good hands. With that said, the number 2 pick of this year's class exceeded all of my expectations. And I'll be very, very honest. This dude is legit. He's the future center of this basketball team. He is the future big man, all-star of this team. You know, you can call him power forward, center. Those are all semantics at the end of the day. He's going to play the bulk of his minutes at the center position because this is a guard wing-driven league, and your best lineup is when he's playing that center position and you have shooters around him. Harrison Barnes playing the 4 a lot this season. So just because you start at a position doesn't make you that. Shout out to Mike Schmitz from ESPN, also Draft Express. That's what they used to be. He made a great point, and then again, it kind of validates what I'm saying now. And they asked him what he thought Zion Williamson would be, and he said he'd be a very great center. And Jalen Rose kind of went off of him and said, "Well, how if he's going to start again? You can start him at the power forward, but the bulk of the minutes will come at center." And obviously, that's a whole separate conversation. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I agree with the fundamentals of just because you start doesn't mean that that's what you are. Tim Duncan may be known as the greatest power forward ever, but the reality is he played center for most and probably more than half of his career. That's a fact. Just because you start at a position doesn't mean that's your primary position. So I believe that Marvin Bagley, the bulk of his minutes will come at the center position because of how the game is played today. Now, before we continue, Marvin Bagley, you guys can also use our code COWBELL on SeatGeek.com. Get $20 off your purchase. Again, that really helps us out a lot. If you do support and you go to all the games, I was not at the game yesterday. I had this nose contusion, whatever it's called. I bled a lot inside of my nose as well. I got headbutted, cheap shot, honestly. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We were down 14-6 playing pickup, and I literally looked like Steve Nash, just bleeding all over my face. I was pretty upset. I did go after the guy, and luckily my teammates held me back. I had two teammates who actually followed our account on Instagram, and they were like, "Bro, you got too much to lose. It's not good PR, etc." And in the moment when you're bleeding and you're kind of lightheaded and you felt that instant impact, and the dude literally threw his head at me when he was driving, and just should have never happened. Super unfortunate. Cheap shot. No need for that. Like, that's not how you play basketball, but that happened. And instead of quitting, I went back, bloody nose and all, and I literally scored 7 of the next 9 points. We won 15-14 when we were down 14-6. I just went crazy. Like, I had a point. I had something to prove, and I shut him down on the other end. I told him that I was going to pretty much, I can't say it, but I saw the fear in his eyes, and he was really phased after that. So, and then he tried to take my hand out of the game. And I was like, "Bro, no." And I just brushed him off and just kept going to go drink water and just trying to put a Band-Aid back in my face. But that happened, and it just unfortunate because it kind of, I was like swollen from my eyes and from my nose, and I just kept bleeding. It's still very painful right now, but that was that. Just wanted to recap you guys for the people that are asking about the Band-Aid and why that happened. I appreciate everybody that's on right now. Hit that like button or dislike button, whatever it is, guys. It helps us out a lot. Got to get back on this YouTube train. I've been doing a lot of content on Instagram, as you guys already know. IGTV, that is the next wave. That is the future. So we're jumping on that pretty early. And again, I apologize for not coming on here. I should be coming on here a lot more. Yesterday, I had people over my house, my family, my parents, friends, brothers, and sisters. So they came down to Sacramento to celebrate with me, so I couldn't make it to the game. Usually every game is at 3, and it happened to be at 6 yesterday. Just kind of screwed up a lot of things, but it's all good. Going back to Kings basketball, that loss still bothers me. Last night loss, I did watch a little bit of the beginning and a little bit of the end. Just lack of execution on so many ends, and that's been their Achilles heel all the second half, right? That's been their Achilles heel all season long. Let's not act like it happened. And people want to bring up, Iman Shumpert, he's the reason why. I'm like, no, he's not the reason why. The reason why is because the Kings simply did not execute. Shumpert would have not been in those situations anyway. And even when he was with the Kings were getting blown out at times. Let's not act like they weren't. Just saying. And Iman Shumpert, again, shout out to him. He brought that toughness and that swagger to the team, but in the his time was up. He wasn't a quote unquote Vladi guy in terms of things he was pulling off when he, went after Nurk and other stuff that, if you guys follow TMZ and all that other stuff, never really came full circle. But distractions that you really don't want long term, and he wasn't going to be here long term anyway. So I definitely understood the move. A lot of people want to say, well, Alec Burks didn't give you nothing. Well, Alec Burks is a guy who played in the playoffs as well, and a very, very good locker room guy. So that's that. That's the ending of it. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Harrison Barnes is the real deal. That's what the Kings needed, and I expect him to sign long term. Now, at what number, I'm not sure. I can see him getting 20. I can see him getting 18. I can see him getting 21. I wouldn't pay over that, because you have to think about signing Buddy Hield, and he is eligible for an extension. I would save the money for Buddy if that's what they plan on doing. I'm sure they have a great team in place with Ken Kentanella, Brandon Williams, Peja, and Vladi, obviously. I actually just spoke to Ken Canella. I was eating at Sac Poke Bros, and he was ordering his bowl, and we just started chatting about the draft and stuff like that. He's very excited about the future of this team, as we all are. And I think the thing that stood out to me, well, he's obviously asking me about Nevada and what I thought about the Twins. He asked me which one was better, and I was like, well, y'all had Caleb last year during the pre-draft workout process. And, I was like, regardless, I think they have 3 picks in the second round. I'm like, oh, they're there. I'm kind of making the the pitch to draft my guys, but I don't think they'll be on the same team. But regardless, the point of that was that the team will be a lot better next year. They have some pieces to move back into the first round if they so choose that. The process has been the same, even though they don't have a first round pick. But you never know. They can easily move up, move back into the draft. That's a possibility, honestly. That is. And they have approached the draft like if they had a first round pick. There are a few players out there that can make a difference for the Kings. There will be second round picks in this upcoming draft that will be very good, believe it or not, because any year. So I said this, I forgot one video, but this draft may be very similar to the 2016 draft of Buddy Hield, when everyone said that was one of the weakest drafts ever. But if you look back, yeah, the percentages are low. I think it's 10 out of 60 players, right? Which is 10%. I don't think that's bad at all. You have a lot of good players, Jamal Murray and Buddy Hield, Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, etc. You may have that this year. And a lot of those late picks can turn into that. So if your scouting department is up to par and you believe in your department with the experience that you have in your front office, Vladi now has a few years under his belt. He's been a lot better about his draft picks. You never know what can happen. You can find a gem, a backup small forward, which I still think this team needs long term. Will they bring back Corey Brewer? Those are all questions that we can answer later on different shows. But again, and I've been kind of sidetracked. I'm all over the place, but this is about Buddy Hield, Fox, Bagley. Buddy Hield, 20 points. Bagley outperformed everything that I thought he would be. A lot better defensively. He still lacks defensive awareness. He does get lost at times, and he makes up for it with his athleticism. But if he can just clean those things up, watch more film, then he'll be fine. Honestly, he will. The same can be said about all the wings, and I've said that all season long. Your defense stayed, I believe they're 26 in points allowed, which is still pretty bad. My number was 18th. I said if the Kings would get down to 18th, they would make the playoffs. They did not make it anywhere close to that number. They didn't make the playoffs. Yes, they beat San Antonio, which is a team that I thought they would surpass. They swept them 3-0 this season, first time in franchise history. Shout out to them. But the Spurs took care of business with every other team. And yes, the Kings were a better matchup for them. Spurs just don't match up well with speed and athleticism of the Kings, but the Spurs and their coaching matched up well with everybody else. And that's the part where the Kings have to learn how to execute games. They lost so many games against so many good teams. Those are all learning experiences, and it may hurt now as a fan watching them, but you know that you can never replicate that in practice. You can only learn that during the game. And now sitting at 39-42 with one game remaining, I would go all out and try to get that 40th win. Last night, they should have gotten that 40th win at home to continue to have that feel-good season, that feel-good moment for the fans. They couldn't execute again. The Pelicans tried to give them the game, and they just kept giving it back to them. Unfortunate, but that is what it is. What are people saying? Like the video and support Leo. Keep the content coming. Creators create. Appreciate you, G. Weddy Cube. Will the Kings go after Bojan Bogdanovic or backup small forward? He can really score. Never have enough scores. I tell you what, bro. If the Kings sign him, if they can somehow sign him, Bogdanovic from the Pacers, I would have this lineup, and I would start this lineup, and I don't care what you guys say. I would have Fox, Buddy, Bojan, Harrison Barnes at the 4, Bagley at the 5. You bring Bogdan off the bench, Harry Giles off the bench. You looking really nice. And I'm going to have a podcast just strictly on all free agents, what's available very soon. Again, just want to come on here and just kind of recap a little bit. Thank you guys for all the support and all that good stuff. Again, I just filmed a video about the crossover culture shoes that I got. Hopefully you guys watch that as well. It'll be on Instagram. Loving those shoes. I'll do a review on the All City Wades as well, on the Kobe Pro Tros 81s. Still trying to sell my Klay Thompsons just because they are big on me. I'm going to get the same shoes as soon as I sell them. A 10.5. They do come bigger. I feel like these Chinese shoes come a little bit bigger. It's just been my experience. I like my shoes to feel tight, but stay tuned for that video. Again, next year, I do expect De'Aaron Fox to score at least 23 points. Like, he is 2 calls away from that happening and 1 bucket away. Like, one more at 6 points. We're like 6 plus 6 points. That's 23 points. Very, very, very possible that that can happen next year. He is just, he's very special. He's very special to me. And we'll talk about Marvin Bagley next year. I am expecting 18 and 10. That's very, very, very possible. I hear noises and stuff. Dave Yeager will be back. I believe he will be back, and he should be back. He has unfinished business with his team. He helped his team. He elevated his team this year. Again, many people in the media did not have the Kings winning 39 games, almost 40 games. We had them under 30. The Vegas odds were 26.5, I believe. I mean, they exceeded all expectations, man. Shout out to the Kings. The future is bright. Their young talent has outperformed their contracts, and they have to be very careful with this free agency because they can't just go out, start throwing out max contracts, and you're like, well, are they going to make us that much better? Because the goal is to keep this core together. And if you can do that, be smart like the Golden State Warriors. There's a lot of luck with the Golden State Warriors. I honestly believe that, with Steph Curry signing that 12-year, $48 million contract, when a lot of people criticized that. And then when he became the MVP and he was still on that contract, you're like, oh my gosh, he has the most eco-friendly contract in NBA history. It worked out for them. Will it work out for the Kings? We'll find out very, very soon, man. Dave Yeager You can trust him controlling Buddy's prime years. Benching him for 8 minutes when he's hot. Xavier signs, it will be 3 years. Again, guys, if you want to talk about it's hard to say, man, but you can't argue with results. The Kings won 39 games. They may win 40 games. Can you really argue with that with the team that he has now? They're only going to get better. They've outperformed a lot of his opposing coaches on so many nights. Yes, he was outcoached on certain nights, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. None of us thought this would happen. I mean, come on. I know there are certain things that I would have changed, and that's my goal to break down. We have so much archive footage from this season that we haven't even released yet. I plan on pointing out certain things in those type of videos. Again, more breakdowns for the off season, which is why I saved all those videos. So stay tuned for that. Again, hit that like button or dislike button, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Thank you guys so much. And I'm going to get to editing this crossover culture shoe review that I did. And I cordially invite you guys tomorrow, 6 a.m., Fulton, Hurley, Sacramento, California. I'll put it on Instagram if you guys want to come down and hoop with me. And my boys, Lance Woods, will be there as well. We hoop every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 a.m. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to go and edit this fast and enjoy the rest of my evening here on my 26th birthday. Thank you guys so much. And I promise that I'll be back doing these a lot more like I used to. Again, I apologize. See you guys on the next one.